Webcasting? Fail. Sweet. Branson, is that from you? Oh, okay. All right. Actually, is Louise going to be in here by any chance? Oh, he is right next to you, and he's on the phone. That's some good con etiquette. All right. All right, so we're going to go through this. So for those that don't know, one of the things that we've been doing since the very first ShmooCon is going through, we kind of lay bare what it means to run this con, all the internals of the good things, the things that went well, the things that went badly, and there's multiple reasons why we do this. One, we do this because we run ShmooCon for the community, and there's other people in the community who may want to be running their own conference, and it's always a challenge. You're going to start running your own con. What does it take? How much money? What things go right? What things go wrong? And we provide this information because we want other people to start their own events, do their own thing, become productive, members of the community. And we feel like if we're going to learn these lessons, there's no reason for somebody else to have to learn them too. You can stand on our shoulders, learn from our mistakes, and then do the right thing. Secondarily, running a con is a trial of successes and failures. And, when the things go well, everyone likes us, and when they go badly, you tend to not like us. And we figure if we're transparent and at least show what we're doing to address anything that did go wrong, that, hopefully you have some faith that we're trying to do the right thing and we have your best interest in mind. So this is not, we will take questions from the audience as we go forward, but part of this is getting it on film and on the internet for posterity. So I need to make it through all the slides so the information's there for other people later on down the road to come read it. So I apologize if I have to cut questions short or that kind of thing. Does that make sense? Nods. All right. How many people have been to the con before? Large number, and you keep coming back. So you'll notice the slides are largely the same, at least the titles. We've added a few, but these were literally the same PowerPoint file that we started ShmooCon 1, Own the Con with, and we've just modified them over the years. 2. Oh, I guess ShmooCon 2. I can't count. It's hard. A number of years ago, I guess about 4 years ago, we formed a formal legal organization. We have an LLC, ShmooCon Logistics, that is kind of the entity at the front of the con. LLCs are funny critters, but for all intents and purposes, it's a proper legal entity. Still, the taxes rain down on the partners' heads on their personal taxes, so it's not like a C Corp or an S Corp that can file its own taxes independently. But on the flip side, things don't get double taxed. LLCs are really easy to run. You don't have to, there's not the formality that you have with corporations, and there's specifically not the formality with a 501c3. We could do this as a 501c3, but honest to God, how many people, I know a number of people in the room have been involved in 501c3s, and some people say, oh, well, you can make them run okay and whatnot. I've seen a lot of them go off the rails, and it's a lot of work, and we just signed a few papers. I think we registered through the company store or something like that, and that was that.
About 5 minutes.
It was about 5 minutes. 5 minutes you can form yourself an LLC. I challenge you to form a 501c3 in 5 minutes. Right, a legal one. The organizational structure is still very much the same. For those that don't know, we were walking down the hallway the other day, and someone's like, there's the con organizer and his wife. I'm like, uh-oh. No one's called me the wife before. I do have longer hair than she does, yes. So anyway, Heidi's really the person that kind of, when no one else is thinking about ShmooCon, she's thinking about ShmooCon throughout the entire year, doing all the, keeping the train on the rails, or whatever analogy you want to use. She is the person of last resort for all questions. She is the helm of ShmooCon Logistics, LLC. So she's really the conference organizer. I get to be the guy who comes up, yeah. Go, Heidi. I'm just a talking head, and there's obviously a huge supporting cast of people. The way that we run things is there's discrete groups from speaker selection, John Kaus and Ben Laurie leading up speaker selection, and then there's registration, and then there's labs, Louise and Ken and that whole crew. Everyone, gets kind of divided into their groups. We work most things out in email, even with our vendors and everyone else. We do the vast majority of our communication via email. We very rarely have to pick up the phone. This year there were a few more phone calls than in years past, but for the most part, it's all done in email. There's not a lot of formality. We don't meet in IRC and have big chats. There aren't weekly meetings. There's nothing like that. And I think part of why we've I think been lucky in that regard is starting out as a cohesive semi-cohesive group of the Shmoo group. We all knew each other. We kind of knew most of each other's little nuances of how we worked, and we could fall into this realm. Okay, you're going to do this, I can trust you. You're going to do this, and I can trust you. I think other cons tend to have more of a formality about them when they get started, if for no other reason that they haven't done anything together as a group. We were used to working together, and it's allowed us to kind of continue to be casual. One of the side benefits is the first year we had people sleeping in our house for like a week ahead of time, getting ready, and everyone was freaking out. And this year was like Tuesday night, and it was just me and Heidi and the kids. You know, like nobody was even at the house yet. So Ken was there for a day, but then he went down and got drunk in D.C., so we didn't see him for a few days. Conference dates and venue. So we've been at the Marriott since day one. We originally started in the basement. They've upgraded us to this fancy new, bigger facility here. The dates we pick, there's a lot of reasons, not the least of which is, since a lot of this stuff coalesces around our house and our lives, we make a decision of what's good for us. We make a decision what's good for the group, what works for all the volunteers, and then we also try not to conflict with other security cons. And I know there's other security con organizers here. We got Sector representatives, other cons that are here that are represented, and it's hard to find a time to have a conference when there isn't another security conference going on. 10 years ago, you didn't have that issue. Now, every day of the year, there's probably a security conference somewhere in the world where someone's like, oh, I wanted to go to that one, but I have to be at this one. In D.C. last week alone, there was a DOD cybercrime, there was Black Hat Federal, and there was some other invite-only thing that was going on Monday. So there are a lot of people going to security conferences just in D.C. in the last 2 weeks. So that part of the equation, we stay away from the big boys, but, reaches... Sort of, yeah, but we reach a point where it's like whatever the hotel has available and whatever works for our personal lives is probably going to be what the ShmooCon date is. So a question we get asked is, size. 1,500 people, give or take. Why do you choose that size? And there's a wide variety of reasons. I'll graphically show a few of those reasons right now. For weeks, if not months ahead of the conference, our house is overtaken with ShmooCon stuff. Besides the fact that volunteers are all putting in their hours ahead of time and working on things, everyone's grinding it out. The big impact personally to us is that we have to store things. This is my garage, which obviously wasn't used for storing a car, but instead it was 107 boxes of bags that got delivered by freight by a truck that didn't have a lift gate in the middle of the afternoon. So we unloaded each box by hand for the third year in a row and toted them across my driveway and piled them neatly in my garage. Then one of the vendors shipped some of their gear in containers like those, and that was it. That was my entire garage. That was full up there.
Oh.
So
The other half of the garage is filled with a dead Volvo.
Yeah, the other half of the garage is filled with my Volvo. For those that have been following the Volvo ordeal for the last 3 years, it looks exactly the same. It's still on blocks, and it's now just covered in crap and like slowly dissolving into the floor. So that's a garage. You think, oh, it's a garage. That's no big deal. This is the downstairs television room in my house. It's very difficult to watch the television at this point, and this is about a week and a half before the con. This is what 1,500 people does to our lives from a physical perspective. And you think about the impact that it has on all the ShmooCon volunteers and what it means, and you can appreciate what has to go on to run a con, a volunteer-run con like DEF CON, right? They're bigger than us by 4 times, and the people, they obviously have a little more infrastructure to help them out, but they've got the impact on the people and their time and that kind of thing. It's tough to run a con. It takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of physical space. So between the constraints with the hotel, the constraints with the volunteers' time, and the constraints of, frankly, I'm not going to build an addition to hold cardboard boxes for 2 months. We think it's a good size, and again, we welcome feedback on the size issue. But it seems, people every year say, "Hey, it feels like a small con," and I'm glad that we're able to pull off 1,500 people feeling like a small con. So, how do people just generally too small, too big, just about right? About right. Perfect. All right, that's good. Maybe we'll get. Put an addition on. Sir, your ticket will be very expensive next year. I'll have you in touch with my general contractor. If anyone wants the really special ticket next year, that's actually not a bad idea. We'll just put one up, $50,000, the ShmooCon edition ticket. Speaker selection. So the speaker submissions, we received 128 this year, which is up about 14%. Again, we used OpenConf. There was no cat-induced deletions of the comment database this year, which was kind of nice. Yay. Yeah? Oh, what's OpenConf? OpenConf is a open source conference management system for handling paper submissions. It's very much an academic paper submission system. It's designed for like blind reviewing and that kind of thing. And we kind of go in and gut it for our purposes because we don't really want to blindly review. We're not necessarily here for academic integrity so much as put it on a con that meets the community's needs. But it does allow you to assign papers to reviewers and then very quickly go through and figure out what the high-ranking ones and the low-ranking ones and all that kind of thing are. We did have one of our cats did kill one of the TF2 boxes the other day, though. It was a new kitten, and it was his initiation, so we had to repair that box. So the cats are still wreaking havoc in the Potter House. There was a small but very dedicated selection committee. People put a lot of eyes on these talks this year, which was great. And I think that overall we had a really good group of talks that were submitted and a really good group of talks that ended up being selected. One nice thing about using OpenConf versus some of the other like more ad hoc, using an Excel spreadsheet or email, is it kind of gives us one, uniform way to go and look through all the information on the conferences. And so we had somebody go through and do some kind of analysis from the past 3 years, looking at the submissions that have come in. And one of the first things they did was look at on a just looking at buzzwords. What buzzwords were popular, over time, which ones are popular now. A few years ago, VoIP was mentioned more often than anything else, if you can believe that, in the submissions. That's not necessarily saying we accepted a lot of VoIP talks, but from a submissions perspective, in 2008, I guess, we saw a whole bunch of VoIP submissions. That VoIP just fell to the floor, and the last 2 years, web has been the big kind of trending term that people are using. Now, the talk may not be necessarily totally about web-based stuff, but the term itself has popped up over and over and over in almost every talk this year. The types of talks that were submitted, we kind of put them into 4 different buckets: hardware-based, offensive, defensive, and forensics. That's my phone. That's, wow, no. Con etiquette, yeah. The speaker had his phone turned on. He's a real jerk. We're not a really hardware-heavy con, as far as what gets submitted. We only saw 12 talks this year. We saw 5 the previous 2 years. So really that percentage is very small, but we did actually accept a number of the hardware talks. Yeah. If you want to, if you do hardware stuff, it turns out it's kind of a green field here. There's a big space to submit hardware talks. We see more. I thought historically, one of the reasons that we did this is because I thought we had historically been more on the defensive side and then offensive. People are having more things of ways to protect than break. But it turns out that over the years, we, on average, have seen 60% more talks on breaking things than defending them. Which was kind of surprising because this con didn't strike me as kind of an offensive con, but we do get a lot of talks in that arena.
Submissions too, it's not exceptions.
Yeah, this is submissions, not exceptions. This is just what people are pouring into us. And the largest percentage, not a majority, but the largest percentage of talks was kind of in the forensics, looking through and understanding technology kind of realm. It really wasn't offensive or defensive. It was more digging into things and understanding what's going on. One thing that was interesting, we had 25 female authors total as part of a submitted talk over the last 3 years. Okay, so they were either primary or they were in a group of people, kind of thing. But there was only 25 female authors out of, I think.
It was like 100. So 100 average each year.
Yeah, about 100 average each year. So you figure out a 300-ish. 250 people, some overlap, 25 of them are female. We're going to post more detailed information. We have a lot more detailed analysis. We'll make pretty graphs and stuff. And we'll try to maintain this year over year. And hopefully, I'd like to see other cons, provide similar statistics if they can. I know academic conferences are reasonably good at, providing accepted statistics and things of that nature. But I'm not sure as a community, the kind of more informal conferences like we have in the security community necessarily report out these statistics. So I really, if there are other con organizers here, we'd really love to see. I know that there's a little tenuous of, letting too much information out about it, but this kind of high-level stuff is very anonymous, and I think it helps everyone understand what the trends are. How to hack selection. People always ask, how do I, get selected? What's the best way? I will tell you first and foremost that running this conference is an exercise in reading comprehension. Okay. I kid you not. Like the number of emails I get where it's clear that people haven't really passed like 6th grade reading comprehension are astronomical. They'll ask a question about something on the webpage where it's explained like in the next sentence on the webpage. Or like you couldn't read the next sentence. You had to like stop and write me an email to. It's infuriating because we have a lot of things that we have to do, and responding to random emails takes time. And on the selection committee perspective, when we get submissions that don't even follow the core structure of here's the information we want, and we're not going to take a lot of time to try to unscrew your screw up. We'll look through it and see if there are merits. But honestly, it's on the person submitting to read it. We're pretty clear. Include the following 5 things. Put those 5 things in there, for God's sake. We're not just making that crap up. Explain your ideas and why they're important. Not just, hey, I could do this. I think it might be interesting. Well, I'm glad that you think it's interesting, Do you think your navel is interesting too? This isn't... I don't really care what they think is interesting. We care about the applicability and things like that. And frankly, put some effort into it. There's been a number of people that submitted things with like 1 or 2 sentences. And it's hard to put any effort into reviewing. You can't review on 1 or 2 sentences, but honestly, we expect, if we're going to take the time as a group of volunteers to spend our time reading 100 and change submissions, we expect you to put in some time on, trying to get accepted. So. Anyway, sales model. Here's an exciting thing. Oh, my gosh. This is your sister.
Oh, hi, sister.
Sorry.
Hello.
We updated the card again. The sales processes,
Can I call you back? Okay. Did who?
We're just her sister's taking our kids home right now on the roads and just making sure that like everything's going okay. Like my kids aren't in a ditch, because that would end this talk instantly, I assure you. Everything okay?
They started plowing our street.
Oh, that was good. I'm glad I picked that up. All right. Yay!
I can go home.
Seriously, we were going to go like get snowblowers and just like blow the street out on our own today. Like I was done. I was not going to wait for the county. And there were clearly some rough edges on each of the ticket sales cycles. We say this in email, we say it on Twitter, and we really, 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 really do try to improve every single round. It's dramatically better. I mean, 2 or 3 years ago, even 2 years ago, the round 2 ticket sales, besides the fact that we weren't charging people's credit cards in that ticket sales, that little screw up, the box itself was on its face. I mean, I was logged in on SSH and loads 170, like, you'd hit enter, you'd wait. Finally, you get a thing. I'm like, this can't be good. This year, even when we were getting slammed, the server was responsive, which was a huge step forward for us. We've done a lot to optimize the code. But on the flip side, there's still, we had errors where we even put a bad link on a page and it screws people up and you get a 403 error. And we take it, we feel terrible when it happens. I mean, we're not out here trying to, people's like, oh, it's just kind of like a hacking challenge to get a ShmooCon ticket, ha, ha, ha. I'm like, look, we totally don't want it to be that, okay? We can't be unlimited in size, but we recognize that we need to have a ticket purchasing process that's as fair as possible to the community. And it's something that we're always evaluating from a technology perspective, from a process perspective. Why do we run our own? We get that question a lot. One, if we outsource this, people take cuts of it. Okay, and we already pay the credit card processing company, and then we have to pay some other company to run this thing. And after a while, you get to the point where 15 or 20% of each ticket sale goes to fees that someone else is doing, right? And we've had a lot of volunteers step up in the last few months saying we're willing to help with ticket sales next year. So I think we'll actually have more eyes on the problem. We'll have more infrastructure. We should be able to solve this, I think, next year. And finally, there's, waiting for lightning to strike. It'll be better next year. Yeah, shut up, Coop. Yeah, so it's gotten better, and I hope it gets better. And the other thing is it's tight integration with the barcode system, and we'll show in a minute our statistics on registration. But that barcode system that was created is awesome when it comes to getting people into the door and running them through the con. So I don't get phone calls like all day. Okay, yeah, well, she can wait. 3 rounds of ticket sales, 3 prices again this year, which again devolved into not pay what you can, which was the purpose of 3 ticket prices, but it turned out to pay what's available. So at the bottom, you see kind of the important note for last year. We're very strongly leaning toward a flat fee system, 1 ticket price only, and then it'll probably be 1 ticket per transaction. So you get 1 shot to buy 1 ticket, and then you come back in and do it again. And we hope with a highly optimized system with that kind of model, it'll work. We're not totally sold on it, but that's what we're leaning to right now. I don't want to take feedback on that right now. I apologize. I'm trying to push through this other stuff. But if you do have ideas or thoughts, we gladly welcome it in an email. People, it's funny because when ticket sales go off the rails, we get really scathing emails, and we try to reply to every single one personally to get back to people and explain what happened, explain what's going on. We try to post things to the website, and 99 times out of 100, people write back, hey, sorry, I just kind of had to uncork it. I've just had to get something off my chest, but, I recognize you guys are working, so thanks for your efforts and that kind of thing. So we usually get one really angry email and then one really upset email. It's your sister again. All right, so obviously, we sold out very quickly. The secondary market seemed more active this year. In years past, the eBay sales were... Apparently, it was an emergency.
Our party food place closed early, so
we have to figure out food. All right, excellent. I'm going to be breaking into a 7-Eleven later to get some food. The secondary market usually trailed off a few weeks ahead of the con, where ticket prices and eBay and stuff came down. We didn't see that trail off until right before the con this year. So the secondary market, I think, was stronger. There were more tickets on eBay. Still wasn't a really large percentage of con tickets on eBay, but the prices were certainly at a premium. Ticket sales. So how do we work out this year? So out of 1,423 tickets in the system, 1,070 actually registered. So that's pretty good given the weather, versus 1,287 that checked in last year with basically the same ticket count. So if you're looking for what impact did the weather have, it had about a 8% impact on...
some of those were barcodes being checked in just to get swag bags, but I don't know.
Yeah, there were a few that were barcodes that people just checked in just to get the bag, but again, that was probably down in the noise comparatively. Yeah. So maybe 8 to 10% impact because of 30 inches of snow. So I got to say, as far as hardy survivalist people go, the security community is pretty hardcore when you still get 90% attendance at a conference like this when the historic death-eating snow shows up on our door. So. 53 speakers showed up. We only had 1 speaker no-show that was critical. He was the one person on his talk. We had a couple of speakers that couldn't make it, but their co-presenters did, so it worked out okay. We had a few extra co-presenters show up, which is always fun. 56 staff, 14-ish press or so. The one thing, normally West Point brings a bus of cadets down, 40-plus cadets. They couldn't make it. They got snowed out. They never made a trip down. So that's actually a pretty big hit, when 40 people don't show up en masse. So we ended up with roughly 1,300 people versus 1,500 and change last year. So overall attendance, especially due to West Point not showing up, was down, but still not bad and not the 8 or 9 people that we thought we might get. So money. So again, we always try to tell you what money came in and what money went out. We took in more in sponsorship this year than we did last year. Companies seem to be very interested in getting to you and letting you know their message. There were a lot of vendors here this year, and overall I think it was a very positive experience for the vendors. Ticket sales actually were down a little bit. We sold a few more tickets last year than we intended to. So this year the ticket sales were what we intended to sell, which was about $180,000 worth of tickets. So overall it was about $250,000 in funds that came in. On the way out, hotel space is up a bit this year. A lot of the things were the same. Credit card fees were about, I think, $10K. This is all kind of back of the napkin, and some of it I'll dive into again in a bit. And this is a lot of it's for posterity. Why I'm showing you here. Ultimately, we about $160,000 went out the door to pay for stuff, and that tab's not even final. We have to wait for the final hotel bill. Overall, so there's about $90K left over, plus or minus 15% is probably our margin of error. 20 or 25K comes out of that for taxes, so we'll have some money left over again to start next year. It's nice to be able to bootstrap with previous year's cash to pay for things and not have to, we have honestly probably one of the easiest conferences to run from a financial perspective because it's deterministic. Right? We know exactly how many people are going to show up. We know when we decide how many tickets we're going to sell, we know we're going to sell out, which is very unique.
Very lucky.
we're very lucky in that regard. Like, as a group, we are very thankful to the community that you have so much faith in you. And people are always like, you're buying tickets to a conference before you even know the speaker lineup? You know, and I think there's a lot of people that attend ShmooCon without even a second thought, right? People, I don't care. Like, it's going to be good. I could give a crap what the speaker lineup's going to be. I'm sure it'll be something entertaining. And we certainly appreciate the faith that people put in us for that. But, you know, honestly, it makes our job so easy because we know the amount of money we're going to take in. We just make sure we spend less than that. And we have a successful conference from a financial perspective. You know, from other conferences, you know, it's kind of a question. You always wonder who's going to register, how many people are going to show up. And so, you know, again, I can't.
And it's all volunteer.
And it's all volunteer. You know, all these volunteers come in, do all this work, and help out. And it's easier on the volunteers even to know. You know, again, that gets back. Why do you have a number 1,500? You know, it's great to be able to tell the volunteers this is what we're shooting at. This is how big it's going to be, and helps everyone plan, and it helps it go as smoothly as it does every year.
We started out on Super Bowl.
Yeah, the first year was Super Bowl Sunday. This is kind of the full circle year. So I think a number of people, I guess the airports are all still closed down and stuff, so people will be watching the Super Bowl downstairs. I'm sure it'll be enjoyable. The network, Louise, I didn't grab anything from you. Do you have anything specific to say about the labs this year? Just, sure. Well, come on up and grab a mic. I was going to try to track you down earlier.
Hello. Different from the past years, we had 40 people, so it was the biggest labs. We got 40 people signing up. We had, I think, 4 no-shows. Everything worked pretty much fine besides the HCP, so not important. Next year, we're going to have an IP address inside the bag, and that's going to be fine. What else? Ustream, we're having problems now, I know, but it's the hotel. We blame on the hotel this time. We're seeing no packet loss to the firewall, but from the firewall to Google's DNS, we're losing 8% packet. So that's it. Information on how to sign up, it's on the website. For next year, it's going to be the same. And what else? Oh, yeah, this is the first year we had a mailing list. So before, ShmooCon Labs was sign up. You're going to help us build the network here. Help the network is wireless, podium, like speakers, contests, something else that I forgot. And it used to be show up Thursday morning, day before the con. We have 36 hours or so to do it. Sometimes takes less than that. Sometimes takes 4 days, like this time. And you showed up and it's like, what do you want to do? People are like, what? Wireless, okay. And that's how it worked. This year we had a mailing list. On December, we started that on December, and people got really active on the mailing list. That was really cool. I thought it was, in the beginning, I'm like, oh, it's just a mailing list. Nobody's going to, low volume mailing list, and guess what? It wasn't. We had about like 170 emails. Heidi wants to kill me, and that's it. And so I guess Ken is not here. Ken helped a lot in the past few weeks when I was traveling. So thanks, everybody. Next year we'll do it again.
Thanks, Luis. The labs guys put in a lot of work. We could come here, run a conference, slap some APs on the wall, and call it good, but we really try to have this as a learning experience, and part of this is a response to, we couldn't really find a clear way to do training that made economic sense for us and for the people attending. We wanted something that was very affordable, and training oftentimes is not the most affordable thing because, to get high-quality training, you pay for it, right? And so instead, we do this kind of experiential, hands-on, come in, play with the stuff, learn it, understand it. Some of these, some folks, Force 10, send a giant router, and we got Packeteers, got all these things in there that some people have never seen before, and they get to play with and get their hands dirty with, and it's just a fantastic experience, and it's relatively inexpensive for what they do, and at the end of it, we get a production quality con. We got network to the podiums, network to Ustream, we got all this stuff working. So I can't say enough for all the folks, the effort they put in. So thanks, guys.
You had a bunch of monitoring running. How hostile was the network this year?
How hostile was the network this year is the question. We don't know yet. Well, I think we're going to try to get some post-mortem stuff up online and that kind of thing. I think there's people focusing on the monitoring and they get the infrastructure up, but I'm not sure once they do that, I think they'd sleep, and they don't really have a lot of time for analysis because then it's Sunday and we're tearing it all down. So and they've labeled servers this year, so we can actually, in years past, it was, hey, can you just turn on servers until you find this one and then give me the drive? No. With memory, yeah. Oh, sorry. I have this nasty habit of scavenging the servers on the off season to make other servers work as we do ShmooCon upgrades and things. And this year, they had one box that wouldn't boot, and the VGA output wasn't working. And after half an hour, I'm like, oh, that one doesn't have any memory in it. I took all the memory out. You jerk. All right. So real quick, registration again went very smoothly this year. This registration system is something that we've used from the very early days of ShmooCon, and frankly, it's fantastic. One thing you don't see behind the scenes is the registration prep. So starting, obviously, things are delivered to Shea Potter months in advance at times, and then the week beforehand, we have what we call the bag stuffing party. What? Wednesday. So this is the week before. This is 2 days before the con. There, a whole bunch of people descend on our house. We put folding tables, wrapping all over the place. We move all the furniture out of the way, and we start a production line of people carrying bags of boxes from my garage upstairs into the main area. Then people taking the bags out, doing everything, stuffing them, dealing with all the contest stuff, whatever, going all the way down the production line, going back into a box, and the box getting toted back out to my garage, and doing this as fast as possible.
This year we did it in the snow.
We did it in the snow. It wasn't this kind of biblical snow, mind you, but it was still snow. And we did the whole thing this year once we started stuffing bags in 4 hours. That doesn't count the hours and hours and hours and hours of preparation time, but the actual getting everyone there and running the production line. That's in stark contrast to 2 years ago when we had 1,200 bags and it took us 9 hours. And there was more stuff, and it depends on the bag. Like the bags that we had, those red bags, people really like those red cooler bags, right? Those things are pretty cool. The problem is when they show up in a box, they're actually all snapped together, and you have to unsnap them all and then unzip them, and there's some of them don't work right and whatever, and they're small, and they're difficult to get everything shoved in there. And those things, they took forever. These didn't, last year's had a flap, and we had to open the flap, and they're all soft and squishy, and the bags are falling over while trying to stuff them. These bags, something that we take into account now is how difficult is that bag going to be to stuff full of crap? And it turns out these bags are quality materials from our vendors and ourselves. So, but it is something, and all these volunteers they take time. They come over to the house and they do this. So that's when registration starts. We get all that stuff ready. We get the speaker bags ready. We get it all staged so that when you guys line up and you've got your barcode, we've got the labs guys and the con staff have got the registration computer set up. They got all the back-end databases working. We've got all the bags ready to go. We open those doors. You guys walk in, and we give you beep. Here's your bag, get out of here. Beep, here's your bag, get out of here. And we average every year about 1 every 6 seconds, which is pretty darn good, I think. I think if you go to other conferences that you pay a lot more for, you're lucky to get out of there in 6 seconds. So anyway, again, a big hand to the registration folks and all the people that, and Brian for the registration system and everything. It's just been fantastic. We obviously will still, it's not perfection, and we'll gladly take any feedback that people have, but, by and large, this is one area of the con that the first day of the con is hectic. I mean, Brian, you can speak to how hectic the first day of the con can be, and it's so nice to know that at least once we open those doors, the next 2 hours, that process is just going to go, the line's going to disappear, and the conference is going to start. So, and we're not waiting for things to show up from China. Although this year, it's funny, they misprinted our lanyards, and we were waiting for things for China. We buy lanyards from a company in Illinois, and that company in turn buys the process-printed lanyards from a company in China. Which we didn't know when we started this, so the first batch shows up, and they're like, yeah, that gray, it's kind of brown. And we're like, oh, how bad is it? It's like bark. Like, oh, well, we're not going to accept that. Can you get a reprint? They're like, we don't know, we'll find out. And then started this kind of they told the company in China to make them and then ship them, and then they were going to have to clear customs, and then they were going to have to go to Illinois, and then from Illinois they were going to have to come to our place. And they got to our place about 4 hours before the bag stuffing commenced. So it was skin of our teeth to be able to get the lanyards in the bags. Video streaming. So we did video streaming this year. Probably not a lot of people here watched it. Obviously, the people at home are watching it now.
Hopefully.
Hi. If it's up at the moment. Is it up and running right now? We're streaming. So this is actually, I was watching DojoCon for Marcus Carey's local conference. Marcus, are you in here? No, Marcus is out working the Hacker for Charity thing, I think. Or was that you going woohoo? Or you were just woohooing Marcus? Marcus, okay. Yay, go Marcus. So he's out working for the Hackers for Charity thing, and he runs a small, or a nice con up at Capitol College called DojoCon. He started it this year, but one of the things he did was stream it on Ustream. And I couldn't make it. I was doing something else that weekend, so I decided I'd go watch this thing. And it was really well done. Like, it just seemed to work seamlessly. I would sit there, I was watching talks while I was working. I'm like, wow, that's pretty goddamn awesome. I'm like, hey, how'd you do that? He's like, you just go to Ustream, set up an account, aim a camera at people, and you're done. You don't pay for it. There's really hardly any setup involved. And we're like, oh, well, hell. So we went out and we tested it, and we bought a couple of systems and the video capture cards. Ted's been kind enough to give us the video feed. We worked with the labs folks to get dedicated bandwidth, so we did quality of service to make sure we had enough bandwidth getting out of here. So it took a little away from the overall con attendance, but we still, we tried to keep it down to a dull roar on the network. We dedicated at least 2 con staff and 1 labs person full-time just to make the video streaming work. Because I recognize it's the kind of thing that if we half-assed and it screwed up, it was A, going to frustrate people, which is not what we aim to do, but B, it's just going to be a giant waste of time for people. So we figured we're going to, go heavy or go home, right? So we got all the right gear, we got everyone coordinated early, we tested it, and there's always little hiccups here and there, but by and large, it seems to have been a huge success. Some of these talks have 200, 300, 400 people watching them online, and it's which I think is great to be able to, especially in a weekend like this weekend, get the material out to people who couldn't make it to the con. So we got a lot of good feed. Whoops, time machine couldn't complete my backup. Fail. You would think that somewhere there's a bit like, don't interfere with what's happening right now. Ryan.
Is Ustream providing a recording facility too, or were you doing that separately?
Yeah, so the question is, does Ustream provide a recording facility? If you use the certain codecs that they have, they will just automatically record it. You just hit a button and hit record, and it will automatically record whatever you want. And then when you stop recording, you just save it as a file, and people can look at it later on. So, Ustream, it's, there's still some rough edges. The service is obviously still getting going, but for a free service, man, I can't complain. So we got very good feedback. They used actually IRC for their chat thing, not screwing around. We wrote an IRC bot that logged all the chat information because there was some very good feedback that came across there. But it's actually just...
To eventually take questions, too, from the at-home audience.
Yeah, and our goal is to be able to take questions from not just the physical audience here, but from the at-home audience as well. So now that we know that we can do the basics, we can do blocking and tackling with Ustream, now we're going to try the passing game. Football analogies, it's Super Bowl Sunday. We'll try taking questions from the internet next year. So, security, we again provided our own security staff. One thing that we do that is different from other cons is we don't intermingle, or we don't delineate the security staff from the other staff. All staff just wear orange T-shirts, and that way you can kind of walk up to any staff and ask a question, but everyone's got a specific role, so the security people can kind of do their thing and aren't looking intimidating. Our idea is not to have an intimidating security staff. It's to have a security staff that's helping you out, helping the hotel out, and not looking like they're ready to tear the place down. It's worked out very well for us. Some just basic mechanics. They have a schedule, and they try not to have everyone working all the time. They've got a very set shift schedule. It seems to work out well. People working doors, people having spare time, that kind of thing. We rent radios from a local vendor. Every year we think, we should buy our radios. And you look at the cost of radios and the fact we're not even going to use them the rest of the year, forget it. We sign one form with one company, we fax it in, a couple days later the radios are ready. We use them for a week, take them, send them back, we're done. So it's pretty streamlined. GM1 and Freshman led up that activity again this year, and it seemed to have gone very well. So other gear and odds and ends. We bought 3 more servers, Dell 1U boxes. Dells don't come by default with a power cable anymore. I was kind of surprised. But then when we were sorting through, GM and I went through a couple days before the con and resorted every cable in every box and neatly labeled all the boxes and everything. We discovered we had approximately 60 extra power cables. So I stopped cursing Dell at that point. I'm like, how green of them. But But we got the ones we got were this year single proc Xeon quad cores with 4 gigs of memory apiece. I think they were plenty functional for what we needed them for. Our needs aren't that aggressive, but I did not buy ones that were virtualization, had hardware-based virtualization, so my bad on that. Sorry, guys. We bought 3 laptops and video capture devices, like I said, for Ustream. We had a couple speakers this year. We tried to provide things to the speakers that they're going to need, and we had a few speakers this year that said, hey, look, I've got a physical thing that need to show off, like the closing plenary is, people dealing with anti-tamper and hardware tampering kind of things, and they have seals and things they want to show off. And it's really hard to see like a little tiny hardware seal from the back of the room. So we bought a AverMedia visual presentation thing. It's like a little camera, and it's got little laser points that will show the corners of where it's actually where your visual area is. It's got like autofocus and all that kind of stuff. It should be, is it? Oh, it's right here. So it's a really nice and moderately expensive thing, and then they give you like this rinky Tyvek case for it. It's like the worst. They're like, and then do you want to buy a service plan for this, sir? Because I'm sure you're going to break it in the first 5 minutes from this crappy case. But it's really, I'm sure you've all seen it. It's got the little arm that comes up and everything. It's pretty neat. Anyway, we got one of those now. We can use that year over year. We bought last year the TF2 tournament. Last year was the first year we did the TF2 tournament, and we had a lot of monitors and mice for that. And it turns out that we didn't have as many monitors and mice for the labs, so it was like a constant battle of people like running back and forth, sniping monitors and mice and keyboards and that kind of thing. So we bought a lot of kind of incidental office equipment this year, monitors, mice, keyboards, hard drives, just to have around and minimize the churn of, hey, who's got what. And that actually, you weren't short anything this year, or were you okay? We're good. Okay, good. So I think we finally reached the point now. We've got all the projectors we need. We've got a really good stack of servers. We've got a lot of stuff, and hopefully our gear purchasing next year will be down due to that. We expanded the contest even further this year. We had Ghost in the Shell Code as a CTF contest, and the Shmoo launching contest, which was more for my personal safety, to try to relegate that to a contest as opposed to full-time target practice at my head. And it seemed to work out pretty. Yeah, the targets are still up from last night's Shmoo launching contest. I'm apparently the center target, what everyone wanted to aim for. Was anyone in here for that last night? Yeah, so that thing was scary. Like, I'll be really honest. Like Dave from Security Justice won the whole contest. His machine was reliable and it fired and whatnot. But the Paul.com guys had that Barbie Hot Wheels thing with a weapon on top. And when the first time they were having some issues firing it, when it finally fired, like no one saw the shot. We just saw the ricochet. Like you hear this noise, like poof, and the ball bounces off the wall. We're like, wow, that's dangerous. Like that's really fast. So I'm sure that'll be back, but we may have to find a way to do it in a slightly more controlled fashion next year because I think at some point we will have lethal force. All the previous year's contests did come back this year. How many people participated in at least one contest? Number of people. Do you want to see more? It seems like a good number to me, given the number of people. There were a lot of contests going on for those that were into that kind of thing. But if you have ideas on contests, we're certainly happy to talk about them. If you have feedback on any contest that happened this year, again, we're happy to have that. We feel it's kind of an integral part. It gives people, some people really like the contest, and some people just want to go to the talks. I think everyone's different about what they like when they go to conferences, and I think we're finally at the point where we have a very mature kind of set of contests that people can choose from everything from hardware hacking, the Shmoo launching thing, to full-blown weekend-long capture the flag kind of deal. So. Vendors and sponsors. We had 40 overall sponsors, which includes lab sponsors. Lab sponsors send gear, sales engineers, that kind of thing to help out in the labs. And so that means we had like 29 non-lab sponsors, or 30 or something like that. There's a little bit of overlap that sponsored the conference. We continue to push the sponsors whenever, obviously we've got, if you look at the sponsorship list from 3 or 4 years ago and you look at it now, we have companies, much larger organizations coming here, and they're, sending, kind of a different reason. People coming here to recruit, and people coming here to, sell kind of a different type of service, which is great. It means we're kind of have a broader appeal than I think what we initially had. But we continue to press all the sponsors to try to do something different. This isn't a trade show. On the flip side, as much as we don't like vendor pitches on stage, come buy this product, I think that we need to be very careful not to be too scared of vendors. because at the end of the day, you still need to go buy products and go use them, and it's great to have a productive working relationship with the vendors and provide feedback to them and at least understand their product space, understand their services, and that kind of thing. And so we try to encourage the vendors to be part of that kind of concept. Don't just come here and pitch something. Come here and try to be a constructive part of the community, and in turn, we hope that the attendees will have a constructive relationship with the sponsors.
Did anybody see the fight in the hallway?
Did anyone see either of the two fights in the hallway? So there were over here. There was a Shmoo/rocket fight that occurred.
No, flexible flyer fight.
Oh, and flexible flyers. This was like a multifaceted, there were many different types of assets in play there. And so that went on for about 10 or 15 minutes, and there was that's some good aim there, Mubix. That was good. And then about an hour later, the same thing happened over here, but it was a pure fight. It was just Shmoo balls, and it was nonstop. And at some point, there was a whole bucket poured down like Gatorade on someone. It's like, yay, we win, woo! And so there was a lot of. I see you now. You've given it up. Now you're standing up. You're gonna throw. Now he's gonna sit down now. Okay. Anyway, I think it worked great. The vendors all seemed to get along with each other, even after injuring each other lethally with some of these weapons. So you have to get that close to hit me, sir. I'm gonna sit in the front row.
You better aim well. That's all I can say.
I have the wood armor now on my MacBook. Last but not least, feedback. Branson, again, led up the creation of feedback.shmoocon.org. How many people left feedback this year? Not many? Come on, please. Well, the con's not over. You better remember when you get it. What's your name, sir? Daniel, and I'm definitely, if I don't see a Daniel leaving feedback in the next 2 days, we're going to just blacklist all Daniel credit card numbers next year. Doesn't matter. I apologize to all the other Daniels, but he's not going to get... You think? Anyway, please leave feedback in the feedback form if you can. It's actually really easy, and it really helps us track. There's metrics associated with it. I'm going to close up this water bottle because I think there's going to be an issue here in a minute. But in someone else's water bottle, that's pretty gross. We will accept feedback to feedback at shmoocon.org. We'll accept feedback to info. We'll accept feedback in any way, shape, or form. Honestly, people feel the need sometimes just to uncork it and send us a nasty gram, and whatever. It's the nature of doing this kind of thing, and we're sorry if you didn't like something that happened, and we'll try to, do what we can to fix it.
Things like "you suck," though.
Yeah, the one-liner "you suck." Honestly, we get those every once in a while, and I try to have a constructive response. Like, I'm big on having a positive, constructive conversation with people, but I can't I appreciate the suckitude. Hey, left-handed. Hey. Oh, shit. Lordy. All right. Holy jeez, they're still coming. Don't hit Heidi. Whatever you do, don't hit Heidi. Aim from the right. Jeez, seriously? Yay, all right. Actually, someone beat Heidi on purpose, then it'll end.
I just got hit.
Okay, she just got hit. It's over. There we go. Anyway, so that's feedback. Honestly, I could take some questions, but the other problem we have is we have to bust down this wall and get ready for the closing, because we're the last talk before the room break in the closing plenary, right? Yeah, okay. So I'm probably not going to take any. I'll take a couple questions right now if people have them. Questions, concerns? Sir, over there. Mm-hmm. So the question is, why don't we have a badge hacking contest? We've got our own take on it. I mean, the badges are always part of a contest, and as shown by the submissions and things, we're not really big on the hardware hacking thing. And honestly, it's just something that a lot of cons are doing the hacking badge thing, and really we just want badges that are difficult to duplicate and not that expensive, and we'd rather spend the money on other things like a big party. The one thing DEF CON doesn't do is give free drinks to all its attendees. So if we were going to... Woo! Yeah, the bar tab last night was $28,000. So, we certainly try to provide as constructive set of experiences and things to the attendees as possible. And for us, it's putting resources into things like that and not putting resources into circuit boards and that kind of thing. Because those are not cheap. I mean, they spend a lot of money. DEF CON spends a large portion of your dollars that you go there for those things, and we'd rather give you floppy mouse pads that cost $1. So, sir.
You mentioned how it impacts your life from a physical aspect,
Mm-hmm.
in your home, those sorts of things. How does it enrich
How does it enrich
for
it? If this doesn't, the
How does
question,
it what?
how does ShmooCon enrich or benefit our lives? I get a room full of balls to play in at home. Like I've got like a whole spare bedroom where we just crawl around, and it's like that XKCD.
I guess I worry about our children sometimes.
I worry about our children sometimes. Our children do get an interesting view of the universe, which is nice. Honestly, I think it is a very positive experience for the volunteers because the people get to participate in something that's kind of outside the norm. We get to do something that other people aren't doing. It's certainly at the end of this when I drive home and I sit down. It's very. I know personally for me, it's very very satisfying to have completed this. I try. I mean, for as much as I get up here and shoot the shit, I try very much to support everyone else in the con, and I know Heidi does as well. We're not up here for personal fame or personal glory. We're up here because of all the attendees and all the volunteers, and the volunteers are here because of the attendees, and we really try to make this about you. So as much as we get something out of it, at the end of the day, we're happy. If everyone else gets something out of it, we're good. Like however it went down, whatever had to happen to make sure that you guys enjoyed your time here, learned something, and we'll take the message. Most importantly, what I want people to do is walk out of here motivated to go do something positive. Right? To go make some positive forward step. Complain, I don't care what you got to do, but go make something good happen in the InfoSec hacking community. Do something yourself, get motivated. People ask me, what do you need to do? How did you do this? Why, how did the Shmoo group and all this other stuff? Like, I just didn't sit around waiting for someone to tell me what to do. I just went out and did it. And I encourage you, don't wait for people to do, tell you what to do. Go out and do it. Question? Oh, from the internet. We're going to take an internet question. Fuck the internet. They want to get some swag.
You send me a FedEx number or a UPS number, I will happily send it along.
But
I am not paying shipping for $400.
Yeah, so we're not gonna pay shipping for everybody's stuff. But if you send an email to info@shmoocon.org and have some kind of shipping set up, not PayPal. We can arrange something. PayPal is not a bank, by the way. Anyway, any other questions? I got one time for one more. Did I bring my shields? No. And someone actually walked off. Someone walked off with the Security Justice shields. And actually, if you happen to know where they are, Security Justice wouldn't mind having them back.
Aren't they in the storage room?
Oh, are they in the storage room? I may have walked off with the Security Justice shields. Kind of a dick. I'm trying to think. Any other? Take one more, slightly more involved. Seriously, for all the grief and everything, no questions. So overall, it was a good year, even with Snowpocalypse. All right. I can't tell if someone's throwing. The lights are so blind. I guess they were. But real quick, I just want to take a second. We'll thank them again at closing. But honestly, the volunteers put in a ton of time from the contest and everything. People put in a Herculean amount of work. So thanks to volunteers. Thanks to the hotel. Thanks to you guys for showing up. And I'm going to duck, and I'll see you all at closing. Holy shit! Oh! That got mine. So Jack Daniel points out after the last talk, he goes, the Shmoo balls are black and it's dark up here. I'm like, that's probably a design feature. Next year we'll have to make sure we have light ones. Anyway, take a break, 30 minutes. We'll be back in here in one big room and have the closing plenary and then the closing talk.